Hey everyone, welcome to 59 Tops Friday, presented by Wax Pack Wisdom, where we talk baseball history through the cards we love. My name is Jake T. O'Donnell. We built the iconic 1959 Topps baseball set, and in this series we're going through every card to talk about the people, players, and teams who made up Major League Baseball in 1959. Today, we'll cover cards 163 through 171 in the set. Card number 163 belongs to Sandy Koufax of the Los Angeles Dodgers. 1959 was his fifth season in MLB. At this point, Koufax was a hard-throwing but erratic left-hander who couldn't hold down a spot in the Dodgers rotation. But in a few years, and after nearly quitting baseball, Koufax would become one of the best, most dominant, and most memorable pitchers the game has ever seen. Koufax signed with his hometown Brooklyn Dodgers for $20,000 in 1954, and with MLB's bonus baby rules still in effect, he was placed on the Dodgers' active roster immediately. There were flashes of brilliance thanks to his blazing fastball and knee-buckling curveball, but he dealt with injuries and inconsistency through his first 6 years with the Dodgers. In 1959, Koufax set the MLB record for most strikeouts in a game with 18 and pitched well in the World Series. Upset with his inconsistent usage, he asked for a trade in 1960 but was denied and considered quitting baseball following that year. Koufax gave it one more shot in 1961, and changes in his approach led to an historic turnaround in his career. He was twice an All-Star that year and led the NL in strikeouts with 269, breaking the single-season league record. In 1962, he led the NL in ERA and threw the first of 4 career no-hitters. But 1963 marked another leap for Koufax, this time from merely great to iconic. Koufax won the pitching Triple Crown with 25 wins, a 1.88 ERA, and broke his NL strikeout record with 306. He was a unanimous Cy Young Award winner and was NL MVP. In the World Series against the Yankees, Koufax stymied the Bombers lineup, throwing 2 complete game victories and winning Series MVP for the victorious Dodgers. Koufax was elite again in 1964, albeit in fewer innings because of multiple elbow injuries. In 1965, Koufax began an excruciating regimen to manage constant arthritic pain in his elbow. Despite the pain, he was more dominant than ever in 1965 and 1966. He won the pitching Triple Crown both years, won the Cy Young both years, set the MLB season strikeout record in 1965 with 382, and on September 9, 1965, authored a perfect game against the Cubs. Koufax made headlines before the 1965 World Series versus the Twins, when he declined to take the ball for Game 1 because it coincided with Yom Kippur. Koufax was already a hero to the American Jewish community, but this decision pushed his stature to an even higher level. Ahead of the 50th anniversary of that World Series in 2015, Rabbi Michael Paley of the Jewish Resource Center of UJA Federation of New York told Sports Illustrated, quote, "It was the beginning of changed feelings about being Jewish in America. Because of Sandy, we were admired." Close quote. Koufax still made 3 starts in the series, allowed 1 earned run in 24 innings, and took home another series MVP and ring. In 1966, Koufax made 1 start in the World Series, but the Dodgers lost the game and were swept by Baltimore. A few weeks later, Koufax stunned the world. He retired from baseball at age 30. He believed that if he kept pitching, he'd eventually lose the use of his left arm. 5 years later, he became the youngest person ever elected to baseball's Hall of Fame. He also worked in broadcasting and has often tutored Dodgers pitchers in spring training. As of this recording, Koufax is 88 years old and will turn 89 in December of 2024. Card number 164 belongs to Johnny Groth of the Detroit Tigers. 1959 was Groth's 14th year in the big leagues. Groth was born in Chicago in 1926, growing up near Wrigley Field. He had little interest in sports or baseball growing up. However, he joined a neighborhood football team where his appearance at the Chicago Bears halftime show at Wrigley Field would earn him an athletic scholarship to a prestigious high school. After an impressive high school athletic career and multiple offers to attend college, Groth opted to serve in the Navy during World War II. There, he found baseball, responding to a call to recruit players for the Navy's baseball team, where Groth would prove to be the only non-professional baseball player to make the team. Following his discharge from the Navy, he signed as a free agent with the Detroit Tigers in 1946. Groth spent 15 years in the big leagues, spreading his time between the Detroit Tigers, St. Louis Browns, Chicago White Sox, Washington Senators, and the Kansas City Athletics, mainly as a center fielder. His career was bookended by his time with the Tigers, having spent the majority of his career in the big leagues there. In 1950, Groth had his best season, hitting .306 in 157 games. In 1951, he led the American League outfielders in fielding percentage at .993. One piece of interesting trivia is that Groth scored the last run in St. Louis Browns history. He went on to scout for the Braves and Cardinals until he retired in 1990, and he passed away in 2021 at the age of 95. Card number 165 belongs to Bill Brutin of the Milwaukee Braves. 1959 was Brutin's 7th season in the big leagues. He was a center fielder who played 8 seasons with the Braves and his final 4 seasons with the Detroit Tigers. Brutin was known as arguably the fastest man in professional baseball during the 1950s. It is no surprise that due to his speed, Brutin led the National League in stolen bases for 3 consecutive seasons from 1953 through 1955. He credited a lot of his baseball IQ to his father-in-law, Hall of Famer William Julius Judy Johnson. Brutin did not play in the 1957 World Series due to a knee injury, which the Braves would go on to win against the Yankees. In the 1958 World Series, Brutin would secure a Game 1 victory for the Braves with a 10th-inning single, driving in the winning run. He would later call playing in the 1958 World Series the biggest thrill of his career, despite the Braves' loss. On August 2, 1959, Brutin hit 2 bases-loaded triples in one game, which as of this recording has only been accomplished 2 other times in big league history. Brutin would go on to be a successful executive for the Chrysler Corporation and an active member of many charitable organizations, including Big Brothers Big Sisters of Delaware. In 1991, Brutin was inducted into the Delaware Sports Museum Hall of Fame, and he passed away in 1995. Card number 166 is the next multiplayer card in the 1959 Topps set, Destruction Crew, featuring Hall of Fame sluggers Minnie Minoso and Larry Doby, as well as star power hitter Rocky Colavito. Here's what Topps had to say about the trio on the back of the card. When your team can boast an outfield that produces a total of 78 homers and the staggering total of 238 RBIs in one season, you've got quite a ball club. That's just what Minnie, Rocky, and Larry did for the Indians last season. Rocky was the AL slugging king and was number 3 in MVP voting. In addition to the plate power, this trio is endowed with speed aplenty and all are expert fly chasers. Larry Doby owns a wall full of records and awards. He was Homer champ in 1952 and again in 1954. 5 times he has driven in more than 100 runs in a season, and he's been on the AL All-Star team 5 times. In 8 years of Major League Ball, Minnie has a better than 300 mark and an 87 RBI per year average. He's also been the AL base swiping monarch 3 times. Card number 167 belongs to Duke Moss of the New York Yankees. 1959 was his 5th season in the big leagues. Moss spent his time as a right-handed pitcher with the Detroit Tigers, Kansas City Athletics, and the New York Yankees, including the 1958 World Series champion Yankees club. Arguably, his best season was in 1959 when he had a 14-8 record. He also pitched in the 1960 World Series that the Yankees would lose to the Pirates. His career suffered in part due to arm injuries. Following his playing career, he worked in the traffic department at the Ford Motor Company plant in his hometown of Utica, Michigan. Moss passed away in 1976 at the age of 47. Card number 168 belongs to Carroll Hardy of the Cleveland Indians. 1959 was his 2nd season in the big leagues. Hardy was a talented and disciplined 3-sport athlete at the University of Colorado in football, baseball, and track. In 1955, he played 1 season in the NFL for the 49ers. He had also signed with the Cleveland Indians, playing some minor league ball that year. He would go on to make his big league debut in 1958 with the Indians, and later played for the Boston Red Sox, Houston Colt 45s, and the Minnesota Twins. Hardy did not play Major League Ball consistently, with a few seasons spent back down in the minor leagues toward the end of his career when making a few appearances with Houston and Minnesota to round out his career. Hardy is known as the only player who pinch hit for Ted Williams, which would happen in 1960 after Williams fouled a pitch off his foot and hobbled off the field. Hardy also pinch hit for Carl Yastrzemski and Roger Maris. Hardy would go on to be a successful football executive for the Denver Broncos for many years, and he passed away in 2020 at the age of 87. Card number 169 belongs to Ted Abernathy of the Washington Senators. 1959 would have been his fourth year in the big leagues, but he did not actually appear in the majors that season. Abernathy was a right-handed pitcher who would spend 14 years in the big leagues spread over 7 teams: the Senators, Indians, Cubs, Braves, Reds, Cardinals, and Royals. He was given a card in this set because he led his minor league in strikeouts in 1958 and was believed to hold promise in the 1959 season. Unfortunately for Abernathy, he missed most of the 1959 season due to injury. He was mostly a reliever in his career and sustained years in the big leagues thanks to his adaptability, first becoming a sidewiner and then a submariner in his delivery. He died in 2004. Card number 170 belongs to Gene Woodling of the Baltimore Orioles. 1959 was his 14th season in the big leagues. He was an outfielder from 1943 until 1962. His time in the big leagues was interrupted by World War II, during which time he served in the United States Navy. He was notably part of 5 consecutive Yankees World Series championships from 1949 to 1953. He never made more than 3 errors in his seasons with the Yankees as a sure-handed outfielder. Although he won multiple World Series championships with the Yankees, Woodling considered his best statistical year to be 1959 with the Orioles, which was the only year he made the All-Star team. That year, he batted .300, hit 14 homers, and drove in 77 runs. Woodling was inducted into the Orioles Hall of Fame after multiple impressive seasons with them. After his playing career was over, he continued to be involved in Major League Baseball as a coach and scout, and he died in 2001. Card number 171 belongs to Willard Schmidt of the Cincinnati Redlegs. 1959 was his 7th season in the big leagues. He was a pitcher in the big leagues in non-consecutive seasons from 1952 to 1959. He reached the majors in 1952 with the Cardinals, pitched there in 1953, and then again from 1955 to 1957, before moving on to Cincinnati for his final 2 seasons in 1958 and 1959. After his big league career, Schmidt worked in the offseason in the car business, which he later took on year-round after leaving the major leagues. He went on to own a car dealership and a lawnmower and bicycle center. He was inducted into the Kansas Baseball Hall of Fame in 1989, and he passed away in 2007. That's going to do it for this edition of 59 Tops Friday on Waxpack Wisdom. Today's episode was written by Abby O'Donnell and Jake T. O'Donnell. Do you have a story about one of the people, players, or teams we discussed today? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear it. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our Waxpack Wisdom content. In the video description, you will find our source material for this episode, links to where you can follow us on all social media channels, as well as a list of our favorite nonprofits and charities. Please consider a donation to one of them if you enjoyed this content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Waxpack Wisdom. Take care.